Hello everybody. In this video we'll try to understand Jyeshta Nakshatra to an extent, and then we will continue our research on Jyeshta Nakshatra in upcoming videos. So Jyeshta Nakshatra is a nakshatra varying from 16 degree 40 minutes of Scorpio sign to 30 degrees of Scorpio. So every Buddha Nakshatra means basically a Jyeshta Nakshatra is a Buddha Nakshatra. Like other Buddha Nakshatras are Aslesha and then Revati. So Aslesha, Jyeshta and Revati, these three are called as Buddha Nakshatras or Mercury Nakshatras. Means their planetary ruler is Mercury basically. So any Buddha Nakshatra or Mercury Nakshatra is at the last part of a watery sign. Like if you take Aslesha, it's at the last part of Cancer. That means 16 degree 40 minutes of Cancer to 30 degree of Cancer, you can find Aslesha Nakshatra. Whereas Jyeshta Nakshatra is 16 degree 40 minutes of Scorpio to 30 degrees of Scorpio. It's also Scorpio is also a watery sign, but Cancer is the emotional imbalancing watery sign, whereas Scorpio is a kind of emotionally balanced kind of energy you can find. At least at the initial days, maybe they are emotionally imbalanced, the Scorpions. But as time goes on, they can balance their emotions to an extent. And Pisces is another watery sign. The 16 degree 40 minutes of Pisces to 30 degrees of Pisces is what another Mercury Nakshatra lies in. That is actually the Revati Nakshatra, another Buddha Nakshatra. So Jyeshta is actually the senior most. That is the nakshatras. That is basically the meaning of that one. The Jyeshta is elderly one, the senior most, right? So first 18 nakshatras, if you observe, right? So in the first 18 nakshatras, the 18th one, which is the Jyeshta, it's the senior most one, right? It might be the reason that initially the sages identified only 18 nakshatras, and for some period of time they did not invent any other nakshatra. So as it is the most senior most among the 18 nakshatras, they named it as Jyeshta Nakshatra, right? So but after that, of course, after some period of time they identified other 9 nakshatras after Jyeshta, whatever, from Mula to the Revati. Meanwhile, they kept the name as it is, right? So for some period of time, it had the position of this Jyeshta, right, the senior most. So they kept it the same way. So that is the main theme of this one. So it consists of 3 stars in a row, just like Anuradha. Anuradha also has 3 stars in a row. Every nakshatra has some stars in it. So some nakshatras may have only 1 star. We may try to discuss them. But see, Anuradha has 3 stars, right, in it. Whereas Vishakha, we discussed, it had 4 star. It has 4 stars. And now Jyeshta, now it has 3 stars in a row. So by the ancient sages, it is seen as forming a shape similar to an ear ring. So if you understand, Anuradha also has 3 stars, but it looks like a staff. It looks like a staff. So staff is something like the ancient rishis used to save their energy of penance in that, in that staff. But here in the Jyeshta, you can see it is like a ring structure. Our ancient sages identified it as an ear ring, right? Or in some cases, the top of an umbrella, right? You can see the top of an umbrella is like a ring structure, right? So these 3 stars are known in the modern astronomy as Alpha Scorpionis, Sigma Scorpionis, and Tau Scorpionis. So all of these stars, if you understand it, lies in the middle to end portion of this particular Scorpio sign, right? So Antares, near the region Antares, you can find all of this, Anuradha, Jyeshta, all these things. So Antares is the reddish hue, is the brightest, right, here, the region. And compared to Anuradha, Jyeshta has more brightness because the brightest among the stars we can identify here is having a visible magnitude of 1.07, right? In the three stars. So Anuradha is somewhere around 2 point something, right? So as visual magnitude is more, the brightness is lesser. So in Jyeshta, you can clearly understand the visual magnitude is 1.07, so the brightness is more. So you can easily identify Jyeshta Nakshatra from countryside without lights, right? Directly you can identify this particular nakshatra. So it is in fact one of the brightest objects in the night sky, which makes it easy for anyone to spot this particular nakshatra in the night sky, right? So in the countryside, you can clearly and easily identify this particular nakshatra. So Jyeshtha translates simply to eldest, the senior most, right? That is the meaning. Jyeshtha is the bigger. Jyeshtha is eldest, not bigger. It's actually eldest. That's the correct meaning, and also a senior most one. So, as is the case with some other nakshatras also, Jyeshta's name immediately reveals a lot about its nature and functioning, right? So, by the meaning itself, you can understand the eldest and the senior most, how an eldest and senior most people generally behave. That's the behavior you can associate with Jyeshta also. So Jyeshta is considered to be the eldest among the first 18 nakshatras. So if you take the 27 nakshatras, you can make them as three sets. From Ashwini to Aslesha, that is from Ketu nakshatra, Ashwini to the Buddha nakshatra, Aslesha, that's one set, so 9 nakshatras. And then if you take from Magha, which is another Ketu nakshatra, to Jyeshta, which is another Buddha nakshatra or Mercury nakshatra, that is the second set of 9 nakshatras. And the third set of 9 nakshatras are from Mula to Revati. As Mula is also a Ketu nakshatra and Revati is also another Mercury nakshatra or Buddha nakshatra, you can say. So in the second set of 9 nakshatras, it is the last one. The Jyeshta is the last one, right? So where the Jyeshta fourth pada is clearly hitting the Gandanta point between the fiery Sagittarius and the watery Scorpio. We will try to discuss the Gandanta thing in our upcoming videos while trying to discuss the Jyeshta fourth pada especially, which is a very very sensitive and to an extent it's dangerous as well, right? We will try to discuss that Jyeshta fourth pada also. We'll try to talk about Gandanta nature at that point of time. So Jyeshta generally means it is the eldest, right? So at some point of time in ancient history, only 18 nakshatras were in use, and of course, as Jyeshta was the final one, so the senior most or the eldest, that kind of meaning was given to this particular nakshatra. So, of course, after that, more have been added, and then you can understand, but still the name is stayed. But because the kind of responsibilities they take or the kind of nature they have, also has so much of meaning similar to the name. That's why they kept the name as it is. So its main symbolism is round talisman. Talisman, right? Talisman, you can Google for it. You can understand the behavior of a talisman. So Jyeshta nakshatra in the sky, you can see it as a round, it's an ear ring, it's a top of an umbrella, right? By that itself, you can understand the kind of behavior that Jyeshta natives generally have, the Jyeshta energy people generally have. So in all the ancient civilizations and any kind of stories, you can understand a round talisman is seen to be the symbol of divine protection, right? So that is the main symbolism here. So in many cases, you can easily find that it is also a symbol of authoritative position. So generally, you can see Jyeshta energy people, if their native has more Jyeshta energy, they can easily go to higher positions in their career or in their lifetime, right? So a circular ear ring, a circle. What is a circle? Basically, whenever you see a circle, you can also find that kind of the protection, right? So when you have some protection around you, how you feel that protection? Generally, if you just imagine that protection you feel in the form of a circular ring. You don't feel the protection in the form of a square, in the form of a rectangle. That's the fundamental nature given to the human. So when you have some protection, you feel, right? You feel, if you just try to draw the protection energy around you, if you have some protection, then you try to draw it in a circular way, right? So the protection, to complete the meaning, it should be a circular, right? So a circular ear ring, right, is also a sort of round talisman. So, and all the kings of the past were expected to wear a big round earrings, right? So when a person is wearing a round earring, that itself is showing some kind of energy, some kind of protective energy, right? So earring can also be seen as a symbol of this nakshatra. Earring, round talisman, right? The round talisman, ring or earring, all are considered to be related to governing forces of the universe. Even if you try to draw the governing forces of the universe, you try to draw them in a circular path, circular way. So all wise men have known throughout the ages, right? Everything in nature happens in circles. Whatever you see, right? So nature, everything, whatever happens in the nature, it happens in a circular way. So in ancient times, the king was supposed to be the person who is representative of the higher governing forces on the earth. So generally you expect kings to wear something round, something circular, right? A circle symbolism, right? So connected to the universal forces of protection. So this nakshatra relates to all those authoritative positions. So when you talk about Jyeshta energy, you talk about authority, you talk about protection. The divine protection means the ultimate protection, right? And you talk about kings, you talk about people in higher authority, right? So that is one thing. So this particular authority is usually you can clearly understand it's related to governing the natural forces, it's related to governing the universal forces. We'll come to know that very clearly in upcoming videos as well, the real meaning of it. So clearly the universal forces, the governing forces, they are in circular way. We'll try to talk about that. So the repeated past life efforts in the fields of karma, occult practices and penance, right? So something related to the previous births is always related to Jyeshta, right? The karma bonding, the circle, right? The karma circle. So you will understand better as we try to, right, get into the some of the symbolisms. So basically, the most uh, important symbolism, if you want to give, right? So that is a coiled snake symbolism, right? So the coiled snake, if you just see a coiled snake which is trying to swallow its tail itself, so the serpent symbolism, which is relating to the Rahu and Ketu, the Kundalini Shakti, right? So the Kundalini Shakti driving force lies in the Anuradha, where the Kundalini, the traveling force, is also lies in Jyeshta, right, to an extent. But we don't talk much about spirituality in while talking about Jyeshta, because Anuradha has most of its energy in it, the spiritual energy. But when you talk about Jyeshta, you generally talk about the protection, right? So while this Kundalini energy is traveling through your 7 chakras, the kind of protection that is acting upon it by the universal forces, by the governing forces of the nature, is actually the Jyeshta energy. Jyeshta as a kind of protector, right, for the whole Kundalini traveling, right, that you see in the Anuradha. So that is the main symbolism, actually, the circular symbolism. A circle is a symbol of protection, the protection to the Kundalini Shakti that is traveling, you can say, and that is in the universal plane, that is in the spiritual plane, or that is in the non-material plane. But in the material plane, if you talk about a Jyeshta energy, right, You just try to see it as an umbrella, right? So umbrella is also another alternative symbolism if you try to understand this nakshatra as a material plane especially. So the most basic function of umbrella is to protect from rain, right? So whether it can be rain or sun or wind, right? The natural forces. So in the non-material plane, when the Kundalini Shakti is traveling, how this particular coiled snake energy is protecting the whole Kundalini travel, right? In the material plane also, Jyeshta people try to take the responsibility as protectors. And why they take the responsibility? There can be many reasons. We will try to talk about that. So this nakshatra is supposed to provide protection against the universal forces, right? So it's a protector. Basically, Jyeshta is a protector. They like to protect. Whether it can be because they just want some show off. It can be one of the reasons, or whether it can be for show off, whether it can be for recognition, or whatever may be the reason, they like to protect, right? And even we'll try to talk more about that. We will try to understand this energy very beautifully. The energy is basically of protection, right? So one thing I want to tell you, it can be because of their show off, it can be because of their getting recognition, it can be because of their self satisfaction. There can be multiple reasons, right, with respect to the Jyeshta energy, but they like to protect, right? So just like an umbrella, right, it acts like a show off symbolism also. When you are right, of course it protects you, but if you see it, it's like it is like a show off thing also, right? So a kind of royalty is also present in this particular symbolism, because only the great people used to have umbrellas in olden days, in ancient days, right? And the other person who is actually carrying the servant who is actually carrying the umbrella is is actually giving that umbrella shadow to one of the authoritative persons in the society. So umbrella in ancient days was also a symbolism of authority and also protection. So the protection usually comes about detailed understanding of the occult knowledge in the universal plane. It's completely, understanding Jyeshta in the universal plane is completely different. It's completely a Kundalini Shakti protection, right? So, but in the material plane, in the earthly plane, that we are generally in the, living in the practical world, if you understand this, so generally the protective shield of a king is generally the priests, right? In ancient days, the priests or the Brahmins were acting as a protective shield for a king. In today's day and age, where most of the masses are totally ignorant of the occult and have little knowledge of this particular universal functionings and all the stuff, the truly protective aspect of this nakshatra is rarely seen. It is limited to protecting someone who is in the trouble, or even in the age of Kali, the Jyeshta energy is acting in a negative way. Even if somebody is not having any trouble, they try to create troubles and then they try to protect. Because they just want the name of that protection. So this particular guy is a protector. They want that name. So to get that name also, they may try to create situations of troublesome situations in so and so person's life, and they try to protect. So the protection in the age of Kali is going in a negative way. A protection can be for show off, or can be recognition, or can be to an extent to their self satisfaction. Right? If there is no trouble, they try to create trouble and try to protect. That is also there in this particular secretive energy, right? Because basically it is in the sign of Scorpio. So there is always a kind of mysticism, a kind of secrecy is associated with this particular nakshatra. So politicians, right? So when a person is a real politician with other energies, right, kicking him into this particular politics, then the person can utilize Jyeshta energy, right, in the today's world. So that is the main theme of Jyeshta. It's always related to power, position, a symbol of protection. The protection it gives, the reason behind the protection can be anything, especially in the age of Kali. It can be a negative reason or a positive reason, right? It's up to the other energies in the horoscope present, and basically it's a symbol of authority also. You talk about the deity of this nakshatra, it's Indra, you know. So Indra is the god of demigods, generally we say, is the main governing deity of this particular nakshatra. So it is important here we try to say Indra is just a post which different souls occupy at different times based on their karmic excellence. So a soul who has done enough penance is put on this particular post generally. So in the same way, Jyeshta has the capacity to bestow an authority position here on earth as a result of past life efforts. So the past life karma, as we discussed some time back, a past life karma is very much associated with Jyeshta energy, right? Even you can understand the Jyeshta fourth part is coming in the Gandanta part, which is clearly showing a karmic depth is clearly present in this particular nakshatra. So as a karmic depth, or as the continuity of the karmic action, the previous birth's actions, they may try to get some authoritative position in this birth also. So that's why the whole horoscope is to be checked for karmic bonding. So if the person has a lot of the karmic excellence from the previous births carrying this in this particular birth, then definitely you can understand the Jyeshta energy can lead the person in a very beautiful way, and the person can achieve a very authoritative position. So around 5,000 years ago, Indra was the most worshipped among all the deities, if you understand if you see the Vedic literature, right? So the Vedas, especially the earlier ones, so the first scriptures came onto the earth, so are full of remarks about the glory of Indra. So his worship survived even up to a period of 500 BC, you can understand, but in recent times they are not doing much thing. But whenever when you chant something related to Vedic stuff, you can always see the Indra is always coming there, right? So Indra is always present. Even if you talk about other ancient things, some ancient people like Greeks, right? Greeks worshipped thunder god, right? Similar to Indra, thunder god, a Thor, right? God's name was Thor, a thunder god, just how we used to worship Indra. The thunder god was supposed to, wield a thunderbolt, the same way as Indra, and then, right? So the Thor actually, a Thor or this Indra always portrayed with a thunderbolt in his hand, right? So always related to the rain, basically. So rain was important to all the civilizations. If you observe any kind of history, rain, agriculture, these two play very major role. And whenever you talk about Jyeshta, you talk about rain, you talk about Indra, and then you talk about agriculture. Agriculture is very much associated with Jyeshta energy. So when a person has a lot of Jyeshta energy in the horoscope, then a person try to be in the areas of this kind of rain and also agriculture. It's very much related to Jyeshta energy. So rain was important to all the civilizations, if you see the ancient history, because agriculture was directly equated with prosperity in the ancient days. If agriculture was very good, then the country was prosperous, otherwise not. So it is very much important that this nakshatra is related to prosperity on the material plane of existence. So to protect, so it's related to, mainly it is related to protection. A main theme is protection. How can you protect the people on the earth, right? Even on the daily basis, you can protect them by giving food, right? You can protect their bodies by giving proper food. Food means agriculture, right? Agriculture is indirectly related to rain, directly related to rain. And so rain god was Indra, and in the Greek terminology it was Thor. So all are interrelated. Thor, Indra, or agriculture, or rain, or food, or protection, right? All are interrelated. So that's why when you talk about Jyeshta, you talk about all this stuff. So in the material plane of existence, especially when a person has some needs, when a person is to be given minimum protection, that can be given by agriculture, by food. So this nakshatra also conveys a certain strong concern for prosperity, right? They always concerned about prosperity. So in the people in the olden days, if you observe, eagerly waiting for the rain. They were eagerly waiting for the rain. Means what? Eagerly waiting for the prosperity. Rain is food, and food is nothing but the prosperity. So eagerly waiting for prosperity. So Jyeshta energy also always they eagerly wait for some development. Eagerly wait for some development, right? So that is a fundamental energy. Eagerly waiting for some development. Eagerly trying to protect someone. So this kind of energy is always present. And when the rainfall is irregular, it can destroy agriculture rather than supporting it. That is also there. If the rainfall is not so good, it can try to destroy. So this clearly understand, you can understand this nakshatra can it many times bring about hardships to someone also, right? Jyeshta energy is not only about prosperity, because it's related to rain. So when the rain is regular, yes, you have very good prosperity, very good agriculture, very good food, everything is fine. But when this rain is irregular, you can understand, can destroy the same agricultural things, right? It can destroy the same food, it can destroy the same prosperity. So Jyeshta is not only about prosperity. If it is the malefic energy, if some malefic planet is present in your Jyeshta nakshatra, right? Some planet, like let us say a very malefic planet is present. Malefic planet in the sense some eighth lord, your eighth lord is present in the Jyeshta. Just imagine the kind of depravity it brings instead of prosperity, right? So the hard times that it can bring, some malefic planet, if it is placed in the Jyeshta energy, just imagine the kind of hardships it can bring instead of prosperity. So when the rulers of a nation are corrupt and greedy, what happens? The country, right? It will subject to it will go to adverse situations, adversity. Instead of bringing some prosperity, when the country of a ruler is very bad, ultimately the country goes, it's gone generally, right? The ruler itself can bring adversity, right? So the kind of planet that is present in your Jyeshta nakshatra is very, very important if you have some Jyeshta energy. So the Jyeshta energy is basically a prosperity giver. At the same time, it is a depravity or hard times giver. So if a positive planet, some planet like a fifth lord, ninth lord is present there, just imagine 11th lord, right? So of course you need to check which is a badhaka planet for you. So the whole horoscope is to be checked. As a whole, you can clearly tell in one statement, if a malefic planet is present in Jyeshta, it can bring hard times. And when a very positive planet is present in the Jyeshta nakshatra, it can bring prosperity for sure. Just like a king. If a king is, kings, rulers, some authority people are always related to Jyeshta. So when they are very much disciplined and good, just imagine the kind of prosperity that humans or the people of the country can see. And when it is when the king or the rulers are corrupt, then just imagine the kind of hard times that it can bring to uh, the kind with the right. But when he is very good, just you can see the prosperity. So with the invention of new technologies, if you observe, the dependence of agriculture or rain is diminished in the society. So worship of Indra is also disappeared, because Indra was mainly a rain god. So Krishna can be said to be the first one who turned the common people away from the worship of Indra, if you observe the ancient history, because he encouraged them to establish direct communication with the forces of nature instead, right? So something like, see, after all, what is Indra's power? Indra's power only relies on his connection with the natural forces. So natural forces, something like clouds, right? So previously, ancient days, people used to think the clouds, the wind, all those things which are responsible for rain were under the control of Indra, so they used to pray Indra. But Krishna encouraged the people of his country, or of his state, or whatever you say, of his kingdom, right? He encouraged to have direct communication, or to directly pray the gods related to the rain, something like Varuna, something like wind god, or something like related to the natural forces, right? So instead of praying Indra and asking the people praying Indra, he encouraged them to pray directly the natural forces. So the common people, so obviously follow the king, right? So they also did the same. So Indra comes out as a proud picture, right? Indra, if you imagine in the Puranic stories also, he was always portrayed as a proud person, as a tricky person, as an unreliable character in the Puranic stories, right? So most of the elements of his nature are conveyed through this nakshatra. So it's a kind of proud energy always associated with Jyeshta. The tricky energy, unreliable character is also associated with Jyeshta. So in this way, Jyeshta is very similar to Vishakha. So Vishakha is also, if you observe Vishakha's energy, is something like when we discussed Vishakha, we said one statement. Even they, for their own material attainments, they never they even ignore, they even ignore their dear ones, right? So such kind of energy you can also see here. But in order to take the responsible position, Jyeshta may not neglect the dear ones at times, but the idea of proudness, the trickiness and unreliable character can also, which is very much associated with Vishakha, same thing you can observe to an extent in Jyeshta also, right? So Vishakha's deities were also Indra and Agni, right? While we were trying to discuss Vishakha, we discussed Vishakha was mainly associated with the two deities, Indra and Agni. So Jyeshta, however, is much more controlled. It has that control, enough control. So it's not very bad like Vishakha's energy, but it is okay. It's okay. It's good. It can. So it has some control, even though it has some secretive behavior, right? So, but still, it is to an extent is controlled compared to Vishakha. So one can clearly understand Jyeshta functions in a positive or a negative way depending on who the Indra is. So you need to check the whole horoscope. So if the other energies are very positive, then Jyeshta works in a very, very good way, and it bestows a kind of authority to position to the native. A very good energy, it can turn into a very good energy. But if the other horoscope energies are very bad, then this particular Jyeshta energy can be very, very malefic, and it can give hard times to the native. So this is the main point here. So in a birth chart, afflicted Jyeshta will tend to always bring out the negative qualities like hard times, misusing power and authority, unnecessary proudness. So these kind of things are very much seen in the Jyeshta natives if Jyeshta is afflicted. Or if the Jyeshta energy has some good planet, then you can see the good energy, like it can bring about the prosperity, the genuine concern and protectiveness towards others. So another important thing is, it's a very speciality of Jyeshta energy. It's that it gives prosperity only through some occult, supernatural, or extraordinary, practices, right? If you, even if you have some afflicted Jyeshta energy, but if you follow some remedial measures, especially the occult, the hidden, right? Hidden pujas, if you do some mysterious things, if you do, then Jyeshta energy can turn into a positive way also, right? Because Jyeshta is actually the energy that should not be ignored, right? So if any planet is present in Jyeshta, and if you follow some kind of Vedic rituals, some kind of rituals, then definitely it will turn into a positive thing. Jyeshta is always positive if you are into some rituals, right? So, but remember that if you are not into rituals, if a malefic planet is in Jyeshta, then you may have hard times. So, Indra always gets his position and power through some kind of penance and occult practices, right? Indra generally doesn't get the position with a normal means, by some tricky ways, by some occult practices, by following some bad paths, Indra gets that position. So the same energy here, you can apply. So even thunderbolt, right? Through, even he got the thunder. If you know the story of Dadhichi, so Indra got his thunderbolt through the occult propitiation of a sage called Dadichi, right? So that is the main thing. So Jyeshta energy people try to get some higher authoritative position through some bad means also, that is there. But if they follow some occult practices, their Jyeshta energy is always going to give them something great that is present, that is always, right? So the kind of rituals that they practice is very much important, right? So that's about Jyeshta's fundamentals. Then we will try to talk about Jyeshta energy more in our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching this video.